Carrying as support is different from the other roles, and the reason is simple. The impact you have as a support is not as visible as with the other roles. When you see a Fed ADC mid, top, or jungle, you can clearly see their impact. And a simple reason for that is that they have big item power spikes. As a support, you also need to prioritize vision and vision denial on top of being starved for gold. The other roles don't have to deal with that problem to the same extent. Even if they lose farm, they still have a lot more gold than you will in your average support game. So, how do you carry as a support? How can you impact the game effectively, and what does that really look like? That's kind of what we're going to be getting into in this game. Playing as a support and carrying as a support is just so different from the other roles because your impact is much more multi-layered, I would say. Again, it's just not as visible, and that's the problem, and that's kind of why maybe a lot of people have a misconception when they say that support, like the support is not doing anything, or my support is not doing anything, the opposing support is not doing anything, they're just getting carried. And most likely it's because they don't understand. It depends on if the support is good or not, of course, but if the support is good and your own team or the opposing team make comments like that, it's because they don't understand what the support role is about and what it means to play support at a high level. And in this game, we're going to be looking at these layers that I'm talking about. Why is it a multi-layered form of carrying? What are these layers and what do they look like? So that's what I'm going to be commenting on in this game. In the beginning, they did an early invade, and I played. To be honest, I probably maybe should have flashed because it was a dangerous situation. And when I walk in the bush, I lose vision of Thresh. I'm talking about the beginning here. And I have my Q, so Sivir is completely safe here. I mean, this is maybe in bronze. This is a situation where maybe Sivir would have flashed. Maybe even I would have panicked, like the support would have panicked flashed, but it's important to realize and understand, what's happening, and the power, like the power spike of the enemy and the damage of the enemy, and level 1, level 2 like that is just, and we're so close to our turret, it's not an issue at all. But the early invade, just to quickly go over that, is I caught them, I saw them, and I moved away from Thresh, and he could have decided to flash Q and try to land a hook. And for that reason, I probably just should have early flashed, to be honest, just to be 100% safe, because when I walk in the bush, I lose vision of him, or when I pass the bush, and he could have flashed in the bush and then gotten a vision of me, then I wouldn't have had vision of him, and it could have been a bad situation. I'm looking to see if I should auto the minion or not to help Sivir, and I saw that it was not necessary. Notice my reaction there, how I just waited for Thresh to complete his combination, his ability chaining. I know that he wants to make a play. It's very easy for me to take advantage of that. And Aatrox is doing something that's, this is something that happens when you climb the ladder. He's using vision. He knows that we don't have vision in this bush, and he's using that as a tactic, as a way to get a good position. He waits for me and my ADC. Sivir did not need to walk up like that. Sivir did not need to die there, but it's okay. These things happen. But he, it's kind of, I guess you could say, an advanced concept. You know your opponent's vision, and you, based on that, make, you just position yourself in the fog of war. You wait for your opponent to expose themselves in a bad position, and then you capitalize, and that's exactly what Aatrox did. So a very good play by him, and maybe a bit careless by me, because I think, based on, we have a ward even up at their Krugs, I think if I was looking at the map during this game, I'm not 100% sure that I maybe should have predicted that he was that he could have that his pathing could have been going from his red and then to his blue, and I could have maybe predicted that, but you know, this is solo queue and these things happen, so. Lee is walking up here, and Thresh is he's staying out of range, so he's just waiting for Ashe there and staying pretty safely out of range so that he's not gonna get caught out. So Lee Sin tries to force a play, and I feel like it's definitely unnecessary. Just then he wastes flash after getting hooked by Thresh. I tried to turn this around, and I do. And this is kind of what I'm talking about when I say it's layered. As a support, you need to be really wary and very cautious of the enemy's position. I think more the enemy's positioning, and I think more so than in other roles. I mean, in both situations, I took advantage of. I predicted how Thresh would react and his ability chaining. And in that situation, I was looking for an opportunity and turned a 3v2 into a 2v2 and getting us that kill. And then you see what happens and how that evolves. And it turns out great for us. You see Malzahar rotating on the map. And this is kind of, again, this multi-layer form of carrying. And kind of what it means to carry as a support. But of course, when you play Nami or Soraka or more passive supports, it's much more difficult to do. It's a different way of carrying, and it's the layers are different. It's a different type of multi-layered playstyle, if you will. But again, carrying as Soraka or Nami or Brand or Sarah require different layers than compared to more tanky supports like Alistar, Nautilus, and Leona. But this is an example of what that means and what these layers are. With the first Thresh kill, I took advantage of his ability chaining, and I took advantage of the opportunity that I knew would present itself, and taking advantage of his lack of knowledge or his overconfidence, or maybe his lack of knowledge about phasing Alistar, simply because maybe few people, not many people actually play Alistar, and you know, that is a layer. And then with the when we were in a 3v2 situation, that's again, you know, I turned that situation around. This is another example where I'm chaining my ability correctly, very effectively, and my roam allowed for that play to happen. And roaming is not just about roaming, it's not just about moving around the map, it's about timing. It's about when you recall and when you should roam and when you should not roam. I'm turning this roam play mid into this. As you can see, I ping, I get Rise to follow here. I move up to block the lantern, we got Thresh's flash, and this is just a great situation. I mean, and again, this is the layer. This is the macro knowledge combined with micro play in terms of ability chaining, and these are the layers that I'm talking about. Timing and recall timing and just roam timing, ability timing. Timing is huge as a support, and these layers are much more apparent when you know when to look for them compared to other roles. You know, like when you have a lot of damage, you can kind of blow up your enemy, and when you're a fed fizz, you can kind of, I'm not saying it's not layered when you are, let's say, a mid fizz main, but it's not to the same extent that but there aren't as many layers, or there are a different type of layers compared to support that are much more visible. I think that's the best way of putting it. But as a support, again, as you can see, when you know how to look for it, you can clearly see, you know, what it means to play support at a high level, and what I'm actually doing, just how good it is, I guess you could say. Putting pressure on Ashe. I don't think she needed to flash there, but yeah, Ignite is pressure. It's just much more, when you play support and you're trying to carry, it's just much more like, it's just not as visible. It's just the things you do are much more, uh, like there's a finesse to it, I think, more so than other roles. And a lot of people don't appreciate that because they don't understand what that really means and what that looks like. You know, what are these layers and what is that finesse? What does that mean? And this is what I'm talking about: the roaming, the timing of the roam, the ability chaining, especially when considering that with other champions and in other roles, when you chain abilities correctly, that means most likely maximum damage output to kill your enemy quickly. And obviously that is impressive when you are able to do that, but as when you're playing support, you don't have that damage, but you can still carry. But you know, it's like you can't see it to the. It's not as visible. It doesn't. You can't kill people. You are reliant on your team to follow up. You're much more reliant on your team in general, but in a different way than other roles. Even if you're a mid, you're really a great mid main and you're doing really well in game. You're still relying on your team to some extent, but as a support, you're reliant on your team, but in a different way, and it's just much more just layered. I think it's just the best way to put it. It's not as apparent, it's not as visible, it's not as clear, and we're gonna see more examples in this game of what that means from a support's perspective. Again, roaming with Lee Sin, this is another layer. Like roaming with your teammates, moving around Thresh's box here to not get slowed. That is a good play by Thresh. And this is definitely a dangerous situation for us. I just want Lee to move away here and just survive. Because I know that I'm not getting out of the situation. And this is also a layer. I'm pinging while this is happening. If you notice the chat, I'm pinging while this is happening. I gave him the be careful ping while I'm moving around, while I'm moving away from him, from Lee Sin, so he can survive. This is another layer. You see this in other roles too, of course, but not to the same extent. As a support, these things happen constantly, at least when you are a good support and you know how to play support. And again, this is what I'm talking about. These are the layers that I'm referring to. And vision control obviously is also another facet of playing support that is very important. And I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I like pink warding River when Dragon is not up. When Dragon is up, I like pink warding Dragon and having that control Dragon pit so the enemy can't sneak Dragon and just take it without our knowledge and not get punished for it. I don't like that. I want to punish the enemy when they do that stuff. Again, warding, timing. Use my W first to get rid of Malzahar's shield. It's so easy to face Malzahar when you're Alistar. It's so easy to just make every gank work because you don't need to worry about W knocking him away because he will have that passive shield up. So you just W, you wait, I think around 1 second, maybe 1.5 seconds for the shield to wear off, and then you use your Q with your E. It's so easy to gank Malzahar. I secure the kill, and Shen uses ultimate. He E's IR to get out of his taunt to try to survive. Thresh uses his flay, does not have his Q, and I do survive, so a pretty decent exchange. But it is a shame that Lee died, but the good thing is that when Shen uses his R, he lets off pressure top lane, and he gives Garen a way to get back in the game. And I think being more cognizant and recognizing these things to a greater extent is again a layer that to being a support, and being a support main and being a good support and understanding at a high level that's what that means. Like, that is the trade-off. It's not just what you're seeing. There are many things you don't see in game that aren't as clear, and they're happening, like Garen getting ahead because Shen used his R and he's letting our pressure top. And I know that because of my experience and because I am a good support. And other good support players know that too. And they will keep that in mind as they're playing. And when you have that knowledge and you understand these layers, it also makes it easier to not give up and to not get so defeated, because you understand what's happening and you understand why or why not. Like, why you can get back in the game or why you can't. And here I know that, you know, it's if we look at the kill score, it's 12-13, and you know, I know that, you know, this is a really even game. It's far from over. And even though they got our bot turret first, it's like, you know, this is a really even game, and I can say that with confidence in game as this is happening. I can think this to myself because I understand the layers of what's happening. And carrying as a support is not only about understanding, you know, these layers and game knowledge and experience. It is, of course, about what I'm doing here too. You notice I'm pinging bot lane. I want to pinging gives your team confidence. This is another layer to playing support at a high level, is pinging. Even when you time your pings, this is another layer. If you time your pinging correctly, depending on where your allies are on the map and what they're doing, it will make it more likely that they will do certain things and react in the way that you want them to. This is another layer that I feel is the most present in the support role, and not as much in every other role. Malzahar has a lot of damage here, and he's level 11 while I'm level 8. So, and obviously ability, your damage and cooldowns, everything scales with level. So when you have a big level disparity like here, you know, it does make a big difference. Notice where I'm pinging here. Ping on the map mid and bottom turret, because as you can see on the map too, because of the icons, because they're kind of black/dark, that means that the towers are low HP. So I want to really focus on getting that gold for our team. Again, looking for a play. I sweep first, I flash, I get rid of Malzahar's passive shield, then I go for Thresh, ignite him. You know, really being proactive. I should have R'd sooner though. That was my... Sivir does have heal as I ping, and so she should have healed, but... And I should have R'd earlier, so... But proactivity is so important too. Again, it's not just about these layers and game knowledge and experience. It is about being proactive and trying to make things happen. And understanding, of course, how to make things happen. Like, in this situation, let's see what I do. Let's see what that really means. I want to... Keep in mind, I did ping mid and bottom, so what I want to get mid and bottom. But we don't have mid and our bottom turret, and that means we don't have the same safety that they do. They can fall back to their turret. They have that damage to fall back to, that you know, 6th, 7th ally, so to speak, you know, with the turret. So they have that to fall back on, to give them... They have a better defense, basically, on the map in total when they have more towers, or when, you know, when either team has more towers, it means they have better defense, more control of the map. But now we see what's happening. It's equalizing. Because Garen rotated bot, which is a good decision by him. And as you can see, I'm also controlling vision in our jungle and making sure that they don't have that control. This is another layer. If I don't do this, my team will lack confidence. Maybe Garen wouldn't have pushed up and gotten that bot turret because he wouldn't have had the confidence, or maybe he would have had the confidence, but maybe the red team would have rotated to him and gotten that kill and snowballed advantages off that. This is a layer. This is something that, you know, it's not visible. It's not there if you don't know to look for it, if you don't understand what that really means, you know, to ward, to deny vision, the cause and effect of what you do. Using my Righteous Glory to set up this play, having that confidence, and then our wave, perfect timing. So this is another layer too. I kill her when we don't have the wave. I tank the turret, which means that the wave coming is gonna be at full strength. Like if I waited for our wave to hit the turret, my teammates would have likely waited for our wave to crash in the turret, and then that would have meant that the turret would have started damaging the wave. So the wave would be weaker even if I did make the play after our wave hit and we killed Ashe, that would have meant that we had a smaller wave. And if we had a smaller wave, we wouldn't have been able to deal as much damage to the turret. This is another layer, and this is something that I think of when I'm playing. Timing is so important to endgame knowledge and experience. I'm pinging. The way when I kind of spam ping dragon like that, it calls attention to that objective. It's not, I can't say with 100% certainty that my team will react and will understand. Just rotate to dragon and be like, oh yeah, we need to take dragon. But maybe they will, and that's why I do it. If I don't ping, it's more likely that they won't pay. That they won't be as aware of dragon being up. If I ping, there is a chance. Maybe there is a 30 or 40, 50, 60% increase, a greater chance, a greater likelihood that they will be more aware. And then this happens. We get dragon because I pinged it. Maybe if I didn't ping it, then we wouldn't have gotten it. This is how you carry. Now I spam ping Baron. Now I want to set that up. Maybe this is another layer, something I just thought of. Maybe I should have delayed my sweeper and done it a bit more and swept a bit more aggressively. Maybe I should have started sweeping in this bush and then walked up into their jungle and tried to set up a play. That's something that I could have done, and the only way to do that, to maybe set up a play in their jungle, is if I delayed my sweeper more and swept and went into their jungle more aggressively. And that's what it means to play, at a high level, to think of these things and to understand the impact, again, the cause and effect of what you do and what that really means in the context of the game. This is, again, timing, punishing Thresh's attempt at vision denial, and then immediately rotating map awareness, rotating into this team fight, using my R there to get Shen out of the way, and R'ing to survive, and tanking a lot of their damage. I mean, Alistar definitely made a mistake. Maybe he misclicked, but he R'd me, so he shouldn't have done that. But, I mean, these are the layers. This is what I'm talking about. And this is a great situation. I mean, this turned into, I think I said we had 12 kills, and they had 13 kills. And you see how this evolves and how this develops and what that means, and how that transitions into this objective. One thing I will mention as a support, you are reliant on your team, but to really carry, it is important to be the initiator, to be the playmaker, to be the person to initiate fights. To win, you need to win fights. That's very important to understand. Like, you can't just rotate, ward, deny vision. You need to make plays. You need to, take those good team fights, and you need to understand when to take team fights, which again is another layer. When should you take a team fight? When should you not? Just very simply, you want to take a team fight when the odds are in your favor. It's that simple. And understanding that is obviously, that's game knowledge, that's experience. It's understanding your own champion's limits and the limits of your the champions on your team, as well as the enemy team, and also knowing cooldowns. Playing around cooldowns is another layer that's, I guess, more known to most players, even though a lot of players maybe don't necessarily do it in practice. I think they know of the concept of knowing the cooldowns of the enemy champions, and also the champions of your own teammates' champions. Empowering minions to just increase their movement speed, just to get them to the turret quicker, because the enemy team is converged on our Sivir and Garen. And this is again kind of a layer. They made a decision to get the kills and we get the objectives. And understanding the impact and what that really means. As in, when Garen and Sivir, when they're focused and understanding that instead of, maybe at a bronze, silver, maybe gold level, maybe my team would have rotated to bottom and tried to take that fight, but instead me and my teammates, we try to get an objective, and we're focused on that, and that is kind of that's another layer to the game, but that's more general, and it's not necessarily only related to the support role, because if my team, if not all of us, made the correct decision to go for the top turret and the mid turret, then that probably wouldn't have worked. But it is a good concept to know of and be aware of, nonetheless. And we know that the enemy is bottom, and what is their reaction? Ryze is top. I completely ignore them. Ryze teleports to try to make something happen, and I don't know about that. But then he walks up to the bottom wave, which is actually pretty smart, because if they try to maybe do kind of like an inhibitor race, I guess, maybe not a base race, but an inhibitor race, they wouldn't have had the wave, because Ryze would have killed their wave. So they wouldn't have had a wave to stand behind to get our turret, possibly. And that's another concept. In this situation, the correct call, I would say, is to get the top inhibitor, and the reason I think is pretty obvious. And it's simply because it is exposed. There is no turret, and that makes it a good call. And when you're more aware of these things, it becomes much easier to get direction in game 2, which is another layer to what it means to carry, and understanding, which side of the map to play on. This is very important too. I think I actually wanted to block the cone there. I didn't want to hit it. And again, this is another layer to playing support at a high level. If I block the cone, because Shen uses E, he doesn't have an escape tool except maybe his flash. If I block the cone and I force him to maybe use flash to get out, then obviously that's very good. That's a big advantage for our team and maybe the next team fight, or what's going to happen in the next 1 to 4 minutes and 59 seconds. And why is that? Because Flash's timer is 5 minutes. Knowing these things and keeping track of them is what it means to play support at a high level. Again, this is, like I said at the beginning, playing support at a high level is multi-layered. What you do and the way you carry is not as visible as with the other roles, but when you know to look for them, it is, in my opinion at least, really cool, and it's very impressive. And when I see other really good supports too, it is very impressive, because I recognize what they're doing. And we have really good vision control. I put a pink there, which is very, in my opinion, very, very, very interesting. What is the difference between putting a pink ward there and a normal ward? Again, the layers. Having that ward, it's visible, which means they're going to clear it, and it takes 5 hits, which means that, it's easier for me to make a play than if a ward is maybe... Two flashes. I flashed in on Ashe to use my E passive. Stacks the auto attack. I don't understand how we lost this fight at all, to be honest. I have no idea how we lost that fight, to be honest, and how they have so much HP. We didn't even get Ashe's GA. Very strange, to be honest. And Silver gets Ashe's GA. That's very, very good. Losing the teamfight is very bad, obviously, but getting Ashe's GA is something that is very good, you know, in the next teamfight. And what is my reaction? I don't go to Baron because I know they're going to get Baron. I'm not going to waste time trying to go there, stop their recalls, because they have empowered recalls, which are much, much quicker than normal recalls. And it's just, there's no way I'm going to get there in time. I can't stall them. And so I immediately moved to secure vision around Dragon. Because they are Baron now, they're likely going to make an aggressive play. They're going to try to make the most of that. Shen is going to split push, which is very predictable. And his team might rotate to him or not. And then, but most likely Shen is going to split push and his team is going to push mid or bottom. That's, and this is game knowledge. This is understanding, and understanding, you know, this is experience and game knowledge, and just understanding. This is again timing, map awareness, knowing that Rice is there, having the confidence to make the play, using my Righteous there to catch up to him and just make sure that we will secure the kill. Being in a 4v5, especially late in the game, is huge. Like, it really is the difference between winning and losing if you can make that happen. And here I make the game-winning play. And that feeling really is awesome, to make the game-winning play there. Getting the flash WQ on Ashe is, you know, it's really cool. I mean, to win the game like that and to be the carry. I mean, notice the score is 30-30, but, you know, when to get kills, when you get, you know, just getting a kill at a critical moment, that's the difference between winning and losing. And that's exactly what I did. I got the kill that we needed at a critical time. And ultimately, that's what won us the game, and that's a really, really awesome feeling. And again, it goes back to what it means to play support at a high level, and the layers that go into playing support at a high level. And I feel like, and I hope this has illuminated what that means.